Okay, I've just got done stringing my elastic through the casing here, and I'd like to say that if you find yourself struggling with putting the elastic, stringing that through, it's going to be a tight fit. So if you're finding that you're getting really frustrated, what I would do is I would just set the sample aside and take this home, and putting the elastic through the casing while you're sitting on your couch, maybe watching one of your programs, because it's more of an action that doesn't involve like a ton of thinking, but it most likely will get quite frustrating especially as you approach those side seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out extra extra elastic, and so my waistline around my skirt is very tight now. It's very tight, and that's because I want to have this elastic edging to work with. So what's important is that we keep our elastic straight. We don't want to create a seam where there's going to be some excess bulk. We want to overlap it. I'm going to overlap mine about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to place a pin in each side. Now again, if you there's some standstill pictures in your construction packet if you find that may be a little bit easier for you to follow. Now what we're going to do is I have pins holding in place both edges of my elastic. So I have a pin back here, and I'm going to just move that in a little bit to make sure that nothing gets pulled out. And then I have a pin in this place here. So again, like both edges are being held down, this pin's holding down the top edge, and the yellow pin is holding down the back edge. Now what I want to do is I want to create a box within this pin down space. So I would go ahead and grab like a pencil or some sort of pin just to give yourself some guidelines. I'm going to make a box and then place an X through it. And this is what you're going to stitch. You're going to stitch this shape using your straight stitch here. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, if you need some more elastic to work with, cinch up that waistband so you can really make sure that your elastic is laying flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that X or that box right underneath of my presser foot, making sure that my needle is going to go in one of the corners of the box. And so I'm going to make my box first, and then I'm going to come back and do my X. So I'm just going to go straight down the long side of my box, and when I get to the corner, I'm going to leave my needle down, turn my elastic, so now I can go straight down this other one and around the other side of the box, and just going to stitch along there. Again, when I get to that next corner, I'm going to go ahead and turn my sample and then stitch my next straight line as best that I can. And when I hit that next edge, just continue to enclose that box. And then when I get to the corner where I started, I'm going to turn and then stitch on the angle to create that X. And then when I get to that corner, I'm going to create another stitch line. I'm going to go back on one of the boxes that I've done, either the long edge or the short edge. I'm going to go on the short edge here. And then when I get to the corner there, I'm going to rotate my sample again, moving my pins out of the way because they're kind of getting a little close here. And then I'm going to angle my sample so that I can follow the next diagonal line of the X that I placed inside this box. And when I get to the end of that line, I'm going to make sure that my pins are all removed now. And then I'm going to do a slight quick back stitch just to make sure that stitching is going to stay in place. And then raise up my needle and my presser foot and go ahead and pull that out. And I'm going to make sure that I trim up these thread tails as close as I can. I think one of mine got caught in there, but not a big deal. I'm just going to trim as much as I can out of there and toss those tails in the trash. And then what I need to do is I need to now reinsert this elastic into the waistband. And so what I might need to do is, if you need to take out a couple rows of stitching here, let me see if I can find my seam ripper. Just like if it's a little too bulky, if you didn't leave enough space, I'm going to go ahead and just take a few stitches out because that'll give me a little bit more room to ease this elastic back in. And I think like I had originally, left maybe about a ½ inch, which is kind of tight. So, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised that I need to reopen it back up, but, I mean, this is, I use my seam ripper often, even though I've been sewing for quite a few years, because, every sample and every design that you do, may not go according to plan. So, what you're going to want to do is just kind of work that elastic back in there. And what I'm finding is that like I actually need my waist or my elastic to be a little bit more cinched in. So if you find this situation also, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to shorten it up, and you're just going to cut that box off that you just did and do it again. So you're just going to overlap again, create that box, stitch it down, and once you get it, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video so I can redo mine so it's a little bit tighter, because it wasn't as tight as what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and restitch that box, and when you get this elastic inserted back into that casing, then we just need to close that stitch line, which I'll just do a short video to finish that up.